Welcome, friends, new and true, to Living with Intention. I'm April Wyatt, your wellness advocate. And if you're new to this space, I welcome you. Thank you for being here and being curious and interested in what I have to offer. Because my intention for you is to bring forward different approaches for your mental, physical, and emotional well-being. And for those who are familiar with me and know how I work intuitively, I want to share with you about a realization I had during my last series, Co-Creating Community, and how our essence is what contributes to the collective, to the community. And as we share our essence, we receive more of it, the abundance. And we really feel that in our hearts and at a soul level. So this is why I'm bringing to you allowing abundance, because there are a lot of people who are wanting more of that feeling, of the connection. But it seems that a lot of people tend to look outside themselves to obtain or to show abundance, or they think they need something to fill a void that they're feeling within themselves. And I want you to know that this isn't good or bad. It's the feeling, that need, that drive of something that is missing, because that is showing you that you are out of alignment to your own abundance. So when you shift your perception of what abundance is, then you can allow yourself to relax and receive more in life. Your true abundance is understanding you already hold abundance within you. And you can sense it, as I said before, as the way you feel, right? The thoughts that you're thinking, the feeling when you're with different people or you're out in nature. And this is energy, right? The abundance comes in many ways and forms. And since it's derived from energy, it's always there for you, as abundance resides within yourself and it's expressed in your surroundings. So that brings me to my first guest of the series. I'm so excited to bring forward this new light to share, who can help guide you with your mind and body and energies back into alignment. My guest is Vanessa, and I first met her online. And that's just so amazing how you can connect with people online and really feel, right, their essence, their vibes. And so I felt that instant connection with Vanessa, as you will experience for yourself, her authenticity and essence. And I'm so intrigued by her amazing work and how she is able to utilize evidence-based interventions to help others, not only on a holistic level in healing the body, mind, and heart, but also healing homes and spaces. Vanessa is a true way shower in her field, and she truly helps others working from the inside out to allow more abundance to flow into your life. So thank you for being here, Vanessa. Welcome.
Thank you for having me, April.
Yeah.
It's been amazing. It's been quite the abundance meeting you. So thank you. Thank you for that introduction.
Yes, and nobody knows this, but I mean, things just unfolded so beautifully and organically after I reached out and connected to Vanessa. Uh, and that just showed me that you, Vanessa, are perfect to be here to support others in allowing more abundance into their life. And before we begin into all the things, can you share with us your story?
My story. starts at this girl that was not really sure who she was.
Mm.
If there's any relatability in that, that's what most people call the inner child.
Mm.
And if I started that way, there was this resounding understanding that I had to, for us adults, for me to navigate, for me to go into life and try to find who I was and try to meet who I was. And um, what I consider self abundance back then when I wasn't sure who I was seeing that others were happy.
Mm.
So it's truly what the understanding that we mostly have. I was seeing on the outside what I wanted on the inside instead of going
Ah.
to the outside. So I was born in Brazil, Brasilia, the capital. That is the capital. And 3 years later, I went to Africa due to my father's work, and he traveled. He is connected to the he retired. He was connected to the Brazilian government, so it's sort of like a military life.
Mm.
Every such and such years, we would travel to another spot. So the next country was Chile. It's right down on South America, and then he got the chance to go back to Brazil. And then all of a sudden, I'm in the U.S. I graduated computer science. That's when I started understanding who I was. Right
Mm.
before computer science, yeah, right before computer science, I'm like, oh, um, I'm able to speak to people in a way where it's not about resonating. It's that they're like, okay, all I need to do is this. So is it that I simplify things? Is it that I don't know, I'm a connection, I'm a link to that one thing that they've been wishing or hoping or sure. So in other words, plenty were the ones that started asking me to mentor or to guide them, in one way or another. Um, the computer science phase passed. It was sort of like a whoosh. Passed very fast because I was already connected to understanding that I'm more like, my work wasn't with computers. It was truly with intelligence in a
Mm.
person that would use a computer or not. But I had to learn also computers because that's part of our language today, technology. And to sum up the story, here I am, a mother of two today. So they're less than 6 years old,
Oh.
and I had to go through the what everybody calls this, gigantic shift, but from trying to focus on the outside
Mhm.
and staying connected to it, but now bringing it into the inside. What work do I have to do on the inside? And then my life just flipped because I was a mother. I was in a marriage that was not serving me. And I knew there was more to what I had just learned about me. So it was a flip. It was like, okay, Vanessa, let's look at the inside. Let's look at
Mm.
not the inside, not the inside spine, not the inside bones, not the, let's look at the feelings. Let's look at
Mm.
the feelings actually are a step ahead. Let's look at the emotion, the core emotions. Let's bring it down to like, the four basic ones and let's get to know truly, truly what is Vanessa all about. Um, in essence, through those emotions. And what that means is like, let's reformat that. Let's readdress that. Let's understand, why is it that you love? Why is it that you hate? Why is it that you're neutral? And that led me into energy therapy. And so now we're going back into the outside, right? Into serving other people with understanding about soul intelligence.
Mm-hmm.
And soul intelligence is sort of like looking at your life, but in a very simple way, even though most people might understand it as confusing. The soul simplifies it. The soul either loves or doesn't. But
Mm-hmm.
it like it's a yes or no. So I'm gonna attract it, I'm not gonna attract it. that's
Yeah.
that's sort of like what the soul does. And that's in my perspective and in my experience, that's where the abundance started to come
Mm.
from from my inside out. I'm like, I want this, I don't want that. Instead of being like, I'm okay with having this for now until this.
Oh, compromising or making do with a situation where you still don't feel great about. Yeah, I so love that you brought that up because I think a lot of people are doing that.
Yes. And again, it speaks of the amazing world of a soul that is not much spoken of, that is not much. So that's my craft. But yet it serves on the outside as well. It allows me to, I'm extremely empath and very intuitive. I sense energies that are, that are very far. What does that mean for the listener? Um, so there's a sensation. I can
Mm.
either feel it, next to my heart, or next to my gut, or next to there's
Mm.
and it's not to be perceived as I need somebody to look at my physical body. It's a sensation. And I only know that it's a sensation because I went through this flip, because I went through this, if you will, a transition. I went through a school, an inner school that lasted like 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
And to understand, how do I connect, how do I feel, how do I translate those sensations to what could be happening on the outside. So somebody that could be, and then let's take this into practicality. I work with people that are very antsy or very busy, or so somebody that is very antsy, when I get close to them or when I'm online with them, there's, is it here? Yeah, it's here. So it's here. So as you can tell, there's a difference between here and here. And I feel it's shaking a little bit. And then you go, is that the heart? Is that, no, it's actually, now I also have the understanding that I have this field around me, this energetic field, and there's this pulsation from this energetic field telling me, hey, hey, this person wants things done quickly, quickly.
Ah.
So anxiety all of a sudden is, they're trying to transition in their life, they're trying to transition to something, but they're not able to find that one thing. So now we're connecting to what I uncover about myself. Am I supposed to provide them that one information that gets them ahead? Am I supposed to provide them that one information that allows them to settle and choose for themselves? So then now we have all kinds of other scenarios that play themselves. And that's truly what I do in spaces. Spaces can be perceived as a body in itself, or to make it more simple. There are energies. There are those, this and that energy, this and that energy, right? So the body is telling me, this corner of the house has had way too much trauma, meaning the family would gather there and they will talk about trauma, or they would, or they would be very um, face to face and,
Yeah.
not agreeable. And so I speak to that energy just as much as I speak to a person's energy. And that's a long, short story of Vanessa.
And there's more to come. I have a feeling that's just the uh, precursor um, of your story, Vanessa. Yeah, thank you for sharing that. And I think the big thing is for people to understand, just as you said, the feelings, the emotions, what's happening within my body and around my body. Because when somebody is experienced that big pivot change, such as you experienced, I've experienced, um, really feel it in our bodies. Our bodies are, uh, the container for us to live here on this earth. And it has the filters, it has the energies, centers, and things. So things will impact the different spaces in our bodies, and we might think something's wrong with us. Although, when we pause, as you so perfectly did, and it does take time to do that, to witness that, I say to myself, oh, I'm feeling this, like that heart flutter, you know. Well, what is my body trying to say right now? Or what is this energy coming in for me to witness? Uh, where's this coming from? And then most of the time, it's about my own perceptions of the experience that I'm having, and thinking I'm not able to hold it, or how am I going to manage it? Or, it's just the mind starts going. And so when I find myself out of alignment, then that's when I pause and I ask, okay, what can I do right now to find some ease or give myself some grace in this moment? And then it, it doesn't, sometimes it happens immediately, sometimes it just kind of gradually fades away, depending on how deep that is rooted into my beliefs, and possibly even generational traumas and things. And then I find that, excuse me, the day flows a lot easier, that I'm flowing easier. I'm able to perceive things differently, just by witnessing and pausing. And that's how I realign into abundance, into that soul connection. And yeah, it just brings more gratitude, more appreciation, and then we receive more of that.
Yes. Um, I'm going to complement that in a different way because I understand that in your audience, there are those that ask themselves, but how do I find that balance or even the quiet? And there can be that, and it can be a routine, right? It can be a list, but there can also be simply the acceptance that if you are, if you're talking to somebody or if you're doing something, you're already breathing and that air already is coming through to you. And that, there's a part of your body that is already trying to soothe things for you in the midst
Mm.
of the rush, right? So I just want to go that way first before, we can address the other part, which is very known out there, which is meditation, which is, regular exercise, which is, having a routine and having, quiet moments throughout the day. So for the person that feels it challenging to have quiet moments, you probably have a part in you that finds quiet in you, and it's
Mhm.
just not perceived. It's an unknown, it's an unseen. There's there is something in you. There's plenty of studies out there, and your audience can look up heart math, for example.
Yes.
So heart math addresses that. Do you have to have a good heart for your heart to actually know when it needs to pump more or pump less? No. Your heart has its own intelligence and it's coupled with your overall intelligence. Your
Mm,
heart knows when it needs to pump more blood and pump less blood. What I'm trying to say is that this can be coupled with the idea that there's something else, not just the heart. Everything else in you is doing more or less or in between, regardless of if you're moving fast or if you're not moving fast,
mhm.
right?
Yes.
So there is the finding peace in that. Now, how to tune into the parts of you that are helping you, that are aiding you to be more mindful, ultimately to be more mindful, to ultimately to be more present, ultimately to be more focused, then
Mhm.
that's a little bit more of what April and I do. That's a little bit more of what we can, in a conversation, detect from the outside and complement what you already sense from yourself and in the
Yeah.
inside or around you, so to speak, right? So
Yes.
that adds a little bit to what. So going back to April saying, like, I have those moments where my heart does this and that and that. It could be that the heart is actually doing something for you, but it could be that actually the heart is getting a little nudge from the outside to aid other people and to assess other people. So that's the difference between April and I versus anybody else, meaning we get a little nudge from the outside. There's a field, here
Mm,
from the outside, either, trying to intercept one of our organs, intercept, meaning, having us feel our organs or feel the outside of our body so that we can speak for others. But you yourself, you're feeling it from the
mhm.
inside out.
I was wondering,
So
Vanessa, so sorry to interrupt. Since we're
that's okay.
talking about heart math, would it be possible for you to walk us through just a short little um, experience with heart math so people can get a feel of that?
Sure. But again, the way that I teach things is very generic and broad and simple. So I don't go into science, I don't go into biology, I don't even go into spiritualism per se, esoteric. I just keep it in the middle so that we're all very comfortable, with the language. Heart math ultimately speaks of the ability that a heart has to communicate with your inside technology and with other plenty of technologies outside. That's ultimately what it says. You can go look and you're going to find all kinds of other descriptions, and there's one that is predominant, right? And it's very science based. It's numbers, it's this and that. So, once again, if the heart is trying to communicate with your own technology, um, if let's imagine your foot is trying to say something like, hey, I need more water. Your foot needs more water. And yeah, it could happen. And you're right. So there's a lack of flow ultimately in the blood, and we can go about it that way. Um, so your heart here is going to be one of the ones that is going to send a signal to the outside saying, hey, we need to get some water there. right? So when trying to communicate with the outside, let's understand there's a lot of pathways, but there's ultimately the pathway that comes from the heart. Imagine the heart inside in its, encapsulated from the heart straight into straight into what you're seeing out here, straight into what, you where you put you move your chest to. Okay. And is that a more direct communication? Absolutely. That's a stronger communication. That's an energy communication. The heart will send, will, right? Its frequencies. We know that it pumps. There are the frequencies that are trying to connect with the outside. No, it's not going to try to. I'm not trying to say that there. It's going to try to communicate with the outside, so the outside tells you you need water. It's probably going to try to find somebody else that it can speak to, or it can relate to, or it can. So your heart, you have a heart too. That's the resemblance right there. And it could be that you're the one that says, "Do you need any water?"
Mm, yeah. And I think water's the symbolism, like water, love, connection, right?
Right. So all of a sudden the words come from you direct. It's an immediate. It's a. Is it faster? Well, it really depends, but so there's that communication which is extremely powerful. A friend of mine, or somebody interviewing me, or or a colleague, or whichever setting you are, or it could be a poster on the wall.
Oh, yes. Yes.
So you're here, but you did a movement at some point, and right, so its spectrum broadened. And especially if you really focus on your well-being at some point, that's when we're going to move into the conversation of meditation and all. Right? So your spectrum broadens, and all of a sudden it's able to communicate with that poster that is on the wall. And you look at the poster, you're like, oh, I need some water. Or, right? Or a thought comes to your mind. In any case, so that's sort of like in a simple language, very articulative, how you can understand this technology. And this is not just the heart. We like people love talking about the heart because heart is love, right? Or heart is perceived. But heart is to wisdom. Heart is to the one that tells you, you know, when to go hard on things. Heart is the one that is the hardest on you more than the mind, as a matter of fact. Heart is the one that is like,
Speak more about
when,
that.
when when you feel that your heart is sometimes shrinking. For us who are more in tune to all of these energies and all this language, when you feel your heart harden, right? So there's a moment of heart hardening. It's the image could be of, a parent saying like, and you're a kid and you just want to touch the oven, but your parent is like, don't touch it.
Yeah.
So your heart does that. Your heart too is I don't want people to perceive it as your parent on the inside out. I want you to perceive it as there's wisdom.
Mm,
The gut is the part of the body that has the most wisdom, but we tend to speak more of the heart when we want to relate to love and compassion and and softening, but we
mm,
forget that the heart can receive messages from the gut and interrupt them. The heart can be the one that speaks louder or softer in many ways. Like, I mean, many times we look at somebody and they're silent, and they're like, they're telling you, you just did something you're not supposed to. So the heart has the ability of navigating through all the feelings that we can try to imagine or sense
Mhm.
and choose. I
Yeah.
let's get away from discernment. Choose which ones fit the best for you. And
Yes. And
if the gut is right, if the mind is right, then it flows. Yes.
so would you say that we tend to hold a lot here in our heart and our chest space? Um, that for abundance, like that's the key is through the heart, would you say?
If we are to talk about abundance, then we have to talk about the whole thing.
Okay.
But I love that you went that route. Um, we feel a lot here, or at least most.
Yeah, in our
Uh,
chest area.
I
For
can,
those who are listening on the podcast, we feel a lot in our chest space. Yeah.
I, I believe most people are already very much sensitive to this part of the area. There could be studies that say that nowadays we're connected to other parts, and many are the groups of people. There are some that are more in tune to the mind. There are some that are more in tune to the gut. There are some that are more in tune to the whole thing or just the limbs themselves. In any case, so if we are to push away abundance, which is not, necessarily the focus here, um, the heart is the one out of all of the intelligences that has the bigger say, and therefore most people are connected. So pay attention to that. We're moving away from abundance, right? So you fall into you, they, we we fall into the group of people that are very much sensitive here in this area. Now, if we move into abundance, meaning you had an alignment all throughout, abundance speaks of your entire being. Abundance speaks of the fact that you accepted who you are, right? And we can get into that too, how to dive or how to go that way. But let's just let's just put out there, let's just make it understand, make people understand that there is a point where you already accepted who you are, and that's it. You don't have to be 60s, 70s, 80s. you,
Right?
you
Oh my
like
gosh.
on our 30s we already are, most people, I think, there is a statistics, most people are already on their 30s. They're already like, it's okay, this is who I am, even though we're getting younger and younger, so it could be like the later 20s these days. So if you've already felt that, like, I'm already accepting, or I'm already in transition to accepting myself, you're already sort of, connecting yourself all throughout your entire body. And then, the sensations are not mostly here. The sensations are very much so here because you're
In the
trying to
head.
decide for
Yeah.
yourself. Yeah, you're trying to decide for yourself what is abundance. Like,
Yes.
let's shrink this down and let's narrow it down to abundance. You're trying to decide for yourself, what is it that you see, what is it that you experience in the past, in the present, in the future, that defines you as abundant or brings you abundance, or even more so, how is it that you can reflect from the inside out abundance and attract
Oh, I
that?
love that. Yeah, reflecting from the
And
inside
that's
out, abundance. And for those of you who are listening on the podcast, Vanessa's holding her hands up to her head and saying it starts up here in the head region, which makes a lot of sense for me because, we have a thought, that's energy. That's we're trying to figure things out. We're trying to, when we streamline things a little more and really put the conscious effort of wanting to feel better, shifting the script of why don't I have what I want? And how come I never have any money? That's a script, that's a belief, that's You're looking at what is now and thinking that's the rest of your life, and it's not. There's so much more. So I just invite people to just shift it a little bit of, oh, I wonder when I can receive more. I wonder how things are going to open up for me, that kind of thing. So I really enjoyed you talking about the mind and how abundance flows through the whole part of ourselves, and that the heart, as you shared, it kind of like it just helps navigate, really let you know when you're in abundance and when you're not. And just one more thing before you start sharing again. I realized when you shared about heart math, Vanessa, that um, the heart is the first organ that is developed in the body. And
Yes.
so that, just even saying that, right? We grow from the heart. So that's the internal system that we work through, or with, I should say.
Yes. Let me just make a parenthesis here. Um, I do have to put this out there. We
Yes,
are
please.
evolving very quickly. We are evolving tremendously. So if we are to continue this way, we have to be mindful that all here can change and at any given point in time. And there could be a transition into it, meaning it holds true for the majority. Yet, there could be other instances. So let's just first, make sure that the audience understands that. And this, I'm making us mindful too, going out there and looking for statistics, going right, so there are plenty that still look for evidences on Google, but not even Google knows what what we're all going through. And the changes that we're going through drastic changes throughout the body individually and all throughout outside. Now, this is not necessarily due to COVID also played a part. So I do need to make sure that your audience is connected with the conversation that we're having. So based on that, back, let's put it this way. Um, in the last decade, there was a lot of attention um, uh, geared towards the heart, because yes, the heart was to be understood as that organ that was instilled and fully functional before anything else, right?
Mhm.
And therefore the flip also applies, meaning it's not only during uh, um, birth and giving light to something or giving life to something. There's the heart. Let's pay attention to the heart. There was also the notion of in death, right? When we are transitioning, right? There's, let's check the heart. Let's see if it's pumped. Let's make sure that it's still there. Um, and then, most recently, and this is me not following every single detail of all of this, because yet again, um, my intelligence is different than yours. My being is different than yours. Perhaps, I, when was birthed, the notion was that the heart was important, but my organ, my other
Mhm.
organ, whichever it is, was the one that developed faster than my heart. And that as long as we all accept that there are those, there's circumstances, right?
Mhm.
There are those, I mean,
Yes.
somebody could be birthed, with a heart defect, yet be a brainiac. May I use that word, right? So like something happened there. So we are transitioning, and we are transitioning a lot more to focus on this part up here, which is, the brain. Um, but even then, that's that's generic, out there for the times that we're living, and closer to what you will find on Google, because I meet people, and very much so like April, and she has, I can state, and this is something she will have to verify on her end. I can state that she developed her gut before anything else.
Mm, yes, you are correct. Yes.
So, so, um, so anyways, to move away from that, because it can be very like confusing all of a sudden. Okay, so which part should I focus on? um, it is going back to yourself. What speaks to yourself? What resonates with yourself when listening, when reading, when, whether it is listening from the outside or even from your inside, when meditating. We can move into that now. When meditating, listen to yourself first to then, see if it pairs up with what you're receiving from the outside. Because like as much as someone, now I'll connect everything. Someone could be speaking of the heart. Your gut has a heart. Your gut, right? So the notion that that person developed more the heart, and you perhaps developed more your gut, all of a sudden, can be coupled, all of a sudden can resonate, can be, interlinked. Okay, so they're talking about the heart, which is up here. Let's now, see what I feel about my gut, and understand that in the gut, there is also this one intelligence in it that is also stopping things or allowing things to magnify or just right, just flowing. Did that
Exactly.
make sense? Right? So
Hmm.
now we move into like in each organ or each part of you, there's now a diversity, and there's a multi-diversity, and there's, a multi-dimension to it. And and so forth. So it's a beautiful talk. So those people that have done meditation, right? That's one
Yeah.
of the ones.
Or
So
some
that
form of meditation. Yeah.
yeah, that has developed a lot their notion, of how to couple with the outside as perceived by not only the brain, but also anything that connects to the brain, and therefore the mind in itself. And, so mindfulness, right? So, those people that have developed very much so that they also all of a sudden, even though they thought they would just focus on the brain or the mind or the mindfulness, all of a sudden they connected to the rest of their intelligence. All of a sudden there's a flow, happening, from, up and down, if you will, or, right. So all of a sudden there's, you know, they opened up more of an internal conversation, um,
Oh,
right? So there's a person that maybe started with mindfulness or not, but delved into good nutrition and nurtured the gut and right, and became familiar with what do they have, what do they don't have, and all that, and not to the point where they're like, I I need to put everything away for this. um, but to the point where I can couple what I'm starting to understand about myself with everything that I'm doing on the outside. And it feels
yes.
expansive. It doesn't feel cringy. So, so paying attention to the fact that it's expansion, all of a sudden there's a flow. There's an open communication with that gut
Mhm.
and the rest of the body. So that's sort of like um, what happened, to me, to April, to other people that are so much more connected. And therefore, we feel more, we sense more, do a
Mm.
little bit more so that we can facilitate that for other people.
Yes,
Right.
and that's part of the abundance, as as you, Vanessa, so perfectly explained how, that's working from the inside out by being mindful or about being aware, just the more awareness. That's all that I'm asking everyone to be, is just be a little bit more aware of what's happening with your body, how you're interacting with others. Um, and when you put yourself first by implementing self-care practices such as meditation or mindfulness or dance, just doing something that really opens you up and you feel alive and vibrant, or being quiet and still, whatever works for you. And then you feel that openness, as Vanessa just described, right? And then more can come in. You will receive more. And this is why I am here doing what I do, is because it's like, people, there's so much more out there. There's just not vanilla and chocolate. There's a variety of flavors, of ways to obtain abundance, to witness those parts of you and know that you're worthy of more. So much more out there. So, yeah, thank you, Vanessa. And so I have a question for you then. How is it that you take this wonderful knowledge of the energies and your body and things that are happening, and then work with individuals about their home, that their space? Because when you share that, I'm like, well, their body is their home, and their home is a reflection of their body. That's how I see it. So can you just share with us how you work with people, either in person or virtually, of working with their homes and spaces, different spaces?
Absolutely. And thank you for the question because what you pointed out is very important. The home is a reflection, not that the home doesn't have its specificities and not that you don't have your specificities, and you can develop, understanding and even managing that even better. But let's just start at the reflection of it. So when we go into the mirror and what we see, we have it that this is my right, but to you, this is my left, right? So in the reflection, in understanding, and I'll get to a simplified answer very soon, but you do have to understand that it's not a straightforward language, right? In when addressing this and when explaining this. Um, but I can simplify it by saying, hey, if my right is, perceived as my left when reflected, then, everything that in my house, if I'm standing in the middle of my house, everything that I see on my right side speaks of everything that I am trying to change on my left side. What that means, let
Ooh,
me back out a little bit. Ooh.
yes.
So, and people and beautiful beings like April, but also other people that already have a good orientation. Okay, the word is orientation in life. So you're you're very proficient at finding your car when you leave it in a parking lot, for example. You're good with your orientation, right? You're You can navigate things without, a map or without, GPS that
Well, I don't
much
know. My
these days.
husband would beg to differ on that one.
Right. So, for whomever can relate to this, you have a good orientation. So, once again, everything that is happening on the right side, um, everything that is happening on the right side, you're perceiving it on the left side. Everything that you're perceiving on the right side is happening on the left side, right? I'm actually helping people through a little bit of language here for them to orient themselves a little bit quicker. So when I put myself in the middle of my house, let's go back to this. Just imagine your house, you're in the middle of it, and you're perceiving that you're the right of your house, wherever you are. You don't have to be facing the window wall, whatever, just place yourself in the middle. If you perceive your perception, your notion that things on your right are messy,
Well,
you're trying to move a lot on your left side. You're trying to organize a lot on your left side. And our left side is to be understood as our relationships. So this, you do need a little bit of somebody to translate that. There could be, one or two variances from what I am saying, but take this sort of like a generic rule. Relationships,
so on our left
which
side, that represents relationships. Okay.
yeah,
I'm writing it
and that
down.
includes, great, okay, and that includes love relationships,
Hmm.
right? It speaks of your families. I'm not even going to say family. So there's your family and there's your families. What that means, it includes families of your friends, families of your spouse, families, right? Your communities and all that stuff. Okay. So you're trying to do a lot there. So if you're perceiving that it's busy, messy on the right, wherever you stand in your house, in the middle of your house, you're doing a lot, with those relationships.
Okay.
That's it.
Boom. There you go, people. Go clean up the right side.
That's
Streamline your
it. And that
relationships.
work, right? So those people that are looking to move into a new career, or even to organize things at their work, or to be more recognized and all of that stuff, that's a community, that's a family. Your work is to be understood ultimately as another family in your life. Hey, you're doing a lot here, right? But how about if you just go to your home and what you perceived as disorganized, organize it. Plain and simple. Just, look into those papers that are in the basement, or look into, right? So I'm not necessarily, I'm just giving examples here. I'm not saying that that is, so there could be different floors in your house, but if you sense that it's coming from the right side, don't go by the video because it seems like I'm moving my left, but right.
And isn't
So
that interesting too? Yeah.
yeah. Now, um, the left, right? So if your notion is that your left side is disorganized, yes, stick to the word disorganized. What do you need to organize? There are variances and there are different levels about all this, but I'm giving a straightforward, language for you to understand, and therefore something you can do just about immediately and see it work. You can validate this in a few, how
Mm.
many days, how many weeks, I don't know. Like if it comes up to your mind, 2 days, that's what it is. Do you want kind of like, an estimate? Usually 3 days.
Hmm.
Usually 3 days for most people, no matter where you live. If you live in a city, if you don't live in a city, most people in 3 days, you're sort of going like, something is different. Or you're having different, ideas about your relationships and all that. So, anyways, the left side, if you're noticing that something is messy, if you have a perception, sensing that something is messy on the left side, what does it speak of? It speaks of you. So we're not
Say that
talking about
again.
relationships.
Say that. Say
It
that
speaks of
again.
you.
Did you hear that, people? Yes.
It speaks of you. So now it's not necessarily something that you should organize in your house, even though it could be that your closet, comes to your mind. But I don't want, I rather move you away from that. I rather you
Mhm.
just go like, okay, if you are to go with clothes, take clothes, because most people go like, if there's a relatability here. Your audience will understand this. Like, they will go like, is it the way that I wear things? Is it what, how I look? No, it's truly we're talking about something else, something deeper. But, if you want to go with, the way that you look and all that, go into the mirror. Are you able to, first and foremost, two questions there? Like, so I'm simplifying this tremendously, okay? So once again, if your notion of something messy is on your left side, once you're in the middle of your house, whether you have 3 floors, 4 floors, or just one floor, it speaks of you. It's talking about you. What do you do next? Go to the mirror, go straight to the mirror. I'm
Sure.
not trying to tell you what to do, but hey, go straight to the mirror. First question: do you love yourself?
Oh, that's a real deep question. You said the L word, Vanessa.
Mhm. Do you love yourself? And I'm not just saying, oh, today I look okay. See, like love, look, mm, no. Do you like look at yourself in the mirror and say, I love me.
I love you.
I love you. But say feel how you feel or try to sense how you feel about telling yourself, I love you. And when you're talking, you're talking to yourself.
Yes.
You're not talking
Yeah.
to somebody else. Like, I love you. Right? Are you comfortable with that? Or are you kind of cringy? Or are you kind of like questioning? Or are you too focused on the way that you look? Is it your dress? Is
Yeah.
it your
Yeah.
your hair? Is it your eyebrow? Is it, like, are you able to just say simple, I love you, and be at peace and be nurturing and be, So second question is, can I get naked now?
Mm, yeah. To really
How
see
does
all of you.
how does that make you feel? Asking yourself. And because some will move immediately into envisioning themselves naked.
Mm,
And there's a power to it. And yes, that's your wholesome in many other ways, in many other, terms.
uh,
That's you transparent. That's you without any filters, without any blocks, without anything that comes from the outside. That's you, you.
yes. That's so powerful. So powerful. And it takes a lot of courage for
Mhm.
somebody to
Because
first the love and then to say, can I see myself naked? Can I literally remove my clothes, stand in front of a full length mirror and look and
right,
appreciate this amazing container that I have to walk this earth? It doesn't matter what size or what shape or scars or varicose veins. This is it.
just stay focused on the fact that you're going to go to the middle of your house and you're going to try to sense left or right. And in that perspective. And in that instance, the right side is your relationship, the left side is you.
Great. That is really good work. I'm just curious on how many people are going to go into the middle of their house and ask or just sense where is that messiness? Is it the right side or left side? Which floor? I would love to hear people's reflections in the comments or to reach out to Vanessa or myself to share your experience with that because that's very powerful, especially the mirror. Uh, really looking and witnessing ourselves. And then we have a choice, as you said in the very beginning, Vanessa, we have a choice of how we're going to approach, right, this disorganization, this messiness, or this disconnect to ourselves. And as we have the courage, as you have the courage to commit to yourself, because no one else can do it for you, people, then that's when you can open up and receive more. Yeah, and I could go into clutter all day long, and how it just slows down energy anyway in your house. Uh, and then that slows down the flow of abundance and how you perceive yourself, especially the messiness, and you keep looking at it and you know it's messy. And that just even energetically, right, kind of bogs us down in our bodies. I'm just thinking out loud here.
Yes.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
you're right on point. And I am going to resume this and connect to the beginning. Um, everything has an evolution, right? You know, let's free ourselves from if I only had known, right? So you know it now, you can proceed now. There was this and that before, there is this and that that you're calling for yourself now.
Mhm.
So in in putting that together, in putting the fact that you are where you should be, um, you are receiving the information that you should be receiving right now versus back then. That's when you get a chance to choose, you know, for yourself if you actually want to play a part or not, and therefore to test this out or not, and to verify if it's actually going to work. Um, and that connects to the beginning of this conversation, the acceptance and the receiving. Um, furthermore, the choice for, you know, your mind to talk to your gut is a choice,
Mhm.
just like it is a choice to meditate or not meditate. But something inside is choosing just as much as something outside, right? You know, so a friend is
Mhm.
choosing to say something to you or not. Um, so we're all in this big pool of choosing what is for us, and ultimately we play a part in what others can choose for themselves, right? And that's abundance. Accepting the fact that, hey, if you don't have it down for any reasons, whether you delayed it because you wanted to do it on your 40s, or whether, right, you know, or whether the weather yesterday was this and today is that, right? You know, so if we once you move into accepting that the moment you are not the one choosing, something else is choosing for you. Whether your language is the universe is choosing for you, or your mom is choosing for you, you
Yeah.
know, that's abundance. Like if you're able to think of that, both you choosing just as much as others choosing, and
Mm.
embrace that with naturality, with like, you know, it's not just about that's just how things are. It's if you do go that way, but it's also like awesome.
Yeah.
Like that's abundance. That's financial abundance. That's life abundance. That's emotional abundance. That's, I mean, and then keep going. Relationship abundance, work abundance, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Yes, it's a domino effect, and it's because you are making the conscious choice, and then, as you perfectly said, Vanessa, like accepting and making that choice, and then knowing that, you are doing this for, I always say, great intentions and the highest good. Even if it's uncertain and you feel that you're in a crossroads of something, and it's like, well, I can make a choice, something will come of it. It will, and bring you to another direction, such as I love your story, Vanessa, about, computers. You started out with computers. Uh, that connected that link and led you to what you're doing now. So, it's not a means to an end where you're at right now in your life. Really want you to hear that, everyone that's listening. It's more about there is just so much more out there. There's more abundance, there's more experiences, more connections with people. And when you make that conscious choice to do something from that feel good place, then that's where things open up even more. Oh, wonderful, wonderful discussion and exploration of abundance. I learned new things with you, Vanessa, and that's very exciting.
Thank you.
Yeah, and for those who are wanting to connect with you to co-create or to have their home cleared or themselves, or just curiosity and wanting to learn more about you, what is your contact information?
I am going to provide my website because there you can find me on LinkedIn. That's truly one of the only social media channels that I'm in. Another social media channel I'm in is in Clubhouse, in case you're there, and that's because I like the whole dynamics of talking, right? So conversating with somebody. So my website is www.waves2waters
Okay.
dot dot com www.wavestowaters.com. There's a little bit about me, not the same way that I put it out here. And it's mostly the space for the healing for homes. That's truly what I'm focused on these days. But if there's any insight that I was able to provide, and with great honor, um, and if there's any curiosity to connect with me directly, it is through the website too. There's a way to connect with me there, but there's definitely a means to go into social media and then send me a direct message, and I'm very open to receiving. It's kind of like how I connected with April, as she said in the beginning. We found each other on social media, and here we are, 2 conversations later.
Here we are.
So much, yeah.
I know, just expansion. It's just it, and nobody even knows the conversations that we've had before. And like I said in the beginning, I'm just so grateful to co-create abundance with you, Vanessa.
Thank you. Same here. Thank you.
Well, thank you, friends, for tuning in and listening and wanting more abundance for you. I hope that you are able to um, be courageous enough to look in the mirror and say, I love you because I love you. Yeah. And for those who are curious about more for allowing abundance tune in for my next series, or my next episode, I should say, where we will talk about nutrition, as Vanessa brought up intuitively, and connecting with your body for more abundance with Maria. So until next time, be well, my friends.